What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I figured, since we're in the middle of the Sizable Surprises event, it was the perfect time to revisit some of my iconic size related theme teams. So first up we got the largest team ever, consisting of Alola Exeggutor, the tallest Pokemon, Wailord, the longest Pokemon, and Celesteela, the heaviest Pokemon in Pokemon Go. We've also got the smallest theme team with 3 of the joint smallest Pokemon in terms of their height, with Joltik, Flabebe, and Comfey. And if you're wondering, Cutiefly, Gimmighoul, and Cosmoem are all also tied for the smallest Pokemon available in Pokemon Go at just 10 centimeters tall. And then finally we've got a new theme team using 3 of the lightest Pokemon with Kartana, Ghastly, and Haunter, which all weigh just 100 grams, so that's 3 crazy size related theme teams all in one video. Now I will admit, you're not going to see the highest level gameplay in this video since I did tank a fair bit trying to run these teams, but you're also not going to see themes as creative as this anywhere else on YouTube. So if you do appreciate this type of content, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. But if you want to take your support to the next level, you can also become a channel member for less than £1 a month, and you'll get early access to new videos as well as custom emojis that fit the theme of my channel to use in the comments, which by the way, the more members that join, the more emojis I can create, and you'll get to have some input for the future emojis that I do create. You'll also get a loyalty badge next to your name, and you've probably seen some people in my comments that have the Attack Form Deoxys badge next to their names, and I believe the first members of this channel are just a few days away from progressing to the next badge, which is very exciting. But with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which Pokemon do you think should be much bigger or much smaller than it actually is? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle, we lead Shadow Alola Exeggutor into Bastiodon. Now, when I last ran this team, I actually didn't do that badly, but unfortunately the meta right now, especially in the lower elo ranges, is just filled with toxic teams. Makes it very hard to run spicy teams like this. We're just going to farm 2-7, go for the Seed Bomb, and then I'm just going to fully sacrifice my Exeggutor. As the opponent takes me out with a Stone Edge, I realise with Bastiodon in the lead, it is very likely that they've got a Shadow Victory Belt in the back, so definitely didn't want to safe swap into my Wailord. We're now going to come in with the Celesteela, hard punish their swap, and also, if the opponent doesn't know, the thing about Celesteela, which is great over Skarmory, is that it has great coverage up against the Bastiodon, so we're going to go straight for Bulldoze, and if the opponent doesn't know about the Bulldoze, then they're about to find out that we absolutely one-shot the Bastiodon, and at this point, this is game over. They've got a second Grass type in the back, as expected. They're actually not running Razor Leaf, which is a bit of a surprise, but doesn't really matter. I'm just going to double shield, go for the air/farm down, and the opponent just concedes the match there. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Swampert in the lead, so of course, decent for my entire team actually, and the opponent's going to safe swap into a Powder Snow, Alola Ninetales. So I'm actually going to no-shield the first charge move. They go for a Psy Shock, so you don't typically run that when you are running Powder Snow. Of course, the energy generation is much better than Charm, so typically you go for Dazzling Gleam, but here we try to swap and catch a Psy Shock, but that backfires as the opponent holds onto the energy and then fires off 2 Weather Balls before we even make it to a Body Slam. So I'm going to no-shield once again. I don't need to shield this, but I'm going to fire off my Body Slam immediately. What I don't want to do is put myself into range where Swampert can fully fast move farm me down. Instead, they come in with a Shadow Machamp, they get the counter farm down. I still got some residual energy on my Wailord, so we come back in with it and we go for that Surf immediately, and this should either grab the final shield or deal big damage up against the Machamp, and the opponent is still going to throw their energy. So at this point, I will no shield. My win condition is 2 shields and a Shadow Alola Exeggutor. They come back in with the Swampert, but as Jamie Finn would say, this Swampert is going to be straight in and straight out as a Seed Bomb will be taking them out, and now we can just commit to the full Dragon Tail farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, great lead leading into Giratina. The opponent probably going to safe swap straight away, and they do. They come in with Dugong, and I stay in for way too long with my Exeggutor, but honestly, I don't have a great response here. So we come in with the Celesteela. For whatever reason, they go for Drill Run there, but in all honesty, how many times have we seen Celesteela in the Go Battle League? Probably never, so probably the same for this opponent, and they just had no idea what to do. But this time we will shield. The opponent is this time going to go for the correct move in Icy Wind, but also that does debuff my attack. So here we're going to go for a Bulldoze. I expect the opponent to just throw straight away, but they're actually not going to do that. Instead, they're going to shield and then go for the full Ice Shard farm down, which definitely isn't good for us. They flip switch advantage. They fought really hard for switch advantage, so that probably implies that they've got a second very strong response to my Alolan Exeggutor in the back, which isn't great because Wailord is going to get completely walled by the Giratina, so I have to swap straight away, and unfortunately there is a second super hard answer in the form of a Bomber Snow, even harder actually because Seed Bomb would also be resisted, which is why I didn't throw. The opponent goes for an Icy Wind, 2 more Powder Snows, takes out the Wailord, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, we see Whimsicott in the lead. So obviously, very tricky core breaker for my team. But the opponent is going to overfarm, allowing me to at least make it to a Seed Bomb. And we actually get them into the half health range with just resisted or double resisted moves. Now there, they did overfarm significantly. So I thought at that point they probably would throw. But instead, they don't. They hold on to so much energy. They come in with the Lantern. But the good news is we do at least bait out a Lantern. We do still have our Exeggutor to completely wall it there. So we land the Bulldoze, dealing big damage, and we put them into range where we can just go for a full Dragon Tail farm down. So we're going to come back in with the Exeggutor. We can no shield this despite being in the yellow health range. We do double resist everything they can go for. They go for the Thunderbolt there, putting us into farm down range, but we go for the Seed Bomb straight away. Looks like a CMP tie as well, which is great news for us, but no, it actually wasn't. I thought it was because they didn't attack, but I think they just didn't get their fast move through, so not ideal for me, as of course I would have preferred to swap into my Wailord, but the opponent goes for a Moonblast there, just blind throwing it before we even came in with our Pokemon, or before they saw what Pokemon it was, but it doesn't really matter. They've got a very bulky Pokemon in the back, in the form of Mandibuzz. Now if I was running Blizzard, potentially that would take them out there, but even then Mandibuzz so bulky, Blizzard would be non-stab. We full send the Hyper Beam just for the sake of it. It gets shielded anyways, and we've seen already Dark Pulse will two-shot us. They go for the second Dark Pulse, taking out the Wailord, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, we see Trevenant in the lead. So I think in the one shield scenario, I can just shield once and then just fully farm them down. But actually, the opponent doesn't even farm to a Shadow Ball. Very easy no shield decision there. Although Seed Bomb, despite being double resisted, still gets us fairly low. We're going to go for the Seed Bomb of our own into the shiny Shadow Poliwrath and then come in with our Celesteela. Now I'm going to shield this up here. The opponent is going to go for a Scald. And honestly, I think I got a debuff there, but Celesteela is so tall that you don't see the animation for it. Of course, I think I heard it because I do play with the sound on, but either way, we're able to get the Air Slash farm down, and then, the Body Slam to take them out there, and now they come in with a Quick Attack Diggersby. Now, I don't think they can fully fast move farm me down. I'm hoping they don't, but we're going to go for another Body Slam here. Body Slam is going to be no shielded, and the opponent's going to bank that energy. They come in with the Trevenant, but that's fine with me, as we come in with our Exeggutor, go for the Dragon Tail farm down. The opponent is going to throw a Charge Move. It's just a Fire Punch, so that implies they've probably got the Scorching Sands as the secondary charge move. I'm going to no-shield the first move here, which is a bit risky as the opponent does go for the Scorching Sands, and they get an attack debuff as well, which isn't ideal, because if the opponent baits here, which is very likely, and they do go for that bait, they might make it to a final charge move, but no, we're able to get the Water Gun farm down anyways, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, another Bastiodon in the lead. So gonna play this out exactly the same as last time. Count to 7, go for the Seed Bomb, hoping the opponent throws straight away as well. But this time they overfarm here. So potentially either just gonna overfarm or just completely go for a full Smackdown farm down, which wouldn't be the worst case scenario ever, as a second Seed Bomb will get them fairly low into the point where, of course, we can just Water Gun farm them down. But we are going to not wait out our Switch Clock. Of course, we're not Switch Locks, but I'm just thinking about what to do depending on what they've got in the back. So we come in with the Wailord, we no-shield the first charge move, they go for the Stone Edge, but then they come in with Sableye. So I wasn't expecting that. But now I'm thinking maybe Sableye and Medicham in the back. This was a very popular team back in the day. I think it's a Zionic video that's got like 100k views or maybe even more than that. Really good video, by the way. Of course, not my favorite team though, because it's got Bastiodon, Medicham and Sableye, not any of my favorite Pokemon. But anyways, they're going to come in with the Medicham. We can now go for a Body Slam here. I'm hoping to just land one charge move and then we should be able to fully fast move farm them down, but unfortunately they do shield that up, so I'm not going to throw another move. Instead, I'm going to wait for the opponent to swap back into the Bastiodon, go for the Bulldoze, not expecting a shield here. The opponent does no shield, but unfortunately we're getting outpaced with fast move damage when we're hitting for super effective with our Air Slashes, and the opponent was just hitting for neutral with their counters, which is very annoying, but we do unfortunately lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there, and into the next battle we're going to see a Talonflame in the lead. So again, not great for us. We're going to go for the Seed Bomb straight away. This is resisted damage, but it would put them into farm down range, so the opponent does respect the damage there. They go straight for a flame charge, ramping up their attack. I'm hoping we can get the water gun farm down, but not quite in time, so I will respect the damage here. They are boosted. Fly will do a ton of damage in that matchup now after the boost. So now we're going to go for a Surf as the opponent comes in with a Whiscash. Surf is going to be no shielded by the opponent. They do farm to 6, so they're actually going to go for a Scald here. They get the debuff to our attack, which isn't ideal because now this Surf will not be enough damage to take them out here. And I honestly didn't expect the opponent to throw straight away, so I was going to go for a couple of extra water guns and then try and make a catch. But either way, Mud Bomb will be taking us out, but we can go for the full air slash farm down. And the opponent's got a second Mud Boy in the back in the form of Quagsire. So at this point, I just have to make it to 3 Body Slams. So I'm going to shield the first move here as they go for a Stone Edge. If I no shield that and it is a Stone Edge, at that point they can just start baiting, and of course I kind of have to respect the damage, but since I do correctly shoot up a Stone Edge, they're going to have to full send another one, and this is only neutral damage, so of course Stone Edge won't be taking us out. We are at the back-to-back Body Slams, but we throw on good timing. Body Slam is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and at this point a third and final Body Slam will be enough to take out the Quagsire, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next can we lead into Salazzle, so not ideal for us, but if the opponent does throw straight away, we will be able to shield this and then go for a full Dragon Tail farm down. So that's what I'm going for. The opponent's instead going to swap into their Medicham, so we're going straight for the Seed Bomb, and then we will be swapping into our Celesteela, of course, as we deal what the hell's going on with me? Why can't I talk? As we deal super effective damage with the fast moves there, we throw on the CMP type with a Dynamic Punch, and the opponent does go for that Dynamic Punch, and that will put us into farm down range, unfortunately. But I'm thinking at this point we can come in with the Wailord, and if we do correctly call a Dynamic Punch, I should be able to get a full Water Gun farm down, and Wailord has decent coverage against a lot of the meta, so hopefully we do have a significant energy advantage. We can beat whatever is in the back, but unfortunately that's basically the worst thing we could see in the form of Trevenant. Honestly, probably should have tried to make a catch instead of just swapping out straight away, but either way this will be game over. I don't think 2 Surfs would take them out anyway, so doesn't really make a difference there. Seed Bomb definitely takes out the Wailord though, and unfortunately we do lose that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next battle, we're going to see a Sableye in the lead, so another fairly neutral matchup. Of course, once again, they will outpace us to the first charge move. They do throw on good timing, throwing after 7, just 1 turn before we make it to the Seed Bomb, but likewise, we're also going to throw 1 turn before they make it to Foul Play number 2, and the opponent's actually happy to just let that move go through. We're going to try and commit to the Draco Meteor, but unfortunately, we don't quite get there. We haven't even thrown a Draco Meteor in this video. We don't get there in time, but the opponent lets that go through, and it still does a ton of damage up against the very bulky Lickitung. And we can also wall their energy with the Celesteela, so I'm going to no shield this as the opponent is going to go for a Power Whip, which is double resisted. That makes very little sense, don't know why they did that, but again, Celesteela is causing a few issues for the opponents just in terms of the typing. I think they are just getting very confused by it. But anyways, we're going to come in, catch the first charge move here. The opponent, again, just going to go for a Hydro Cannon, which, I mean, of course we no shield that, but that's going to put us into perfect Mud Shot farm down range, which certainly isn't ideal for us. So actually kind of a smart play by the opponent. They do get the farm down, but we've got back-to-back Body Slams loaded, and it turns out Celesteela going to be winning CMP. So we fire off the first one there. I'm going to shield this as a Hydro Cannon is going to hit a lot harder than a Body Slam or a Power Whip, as we've already seen. We can go for Body Slam number 2, of course. This will be taking out the Shadow Swampert, and now at this point we can tank anything they throw. This time they should be going for the Body Slam, but you can see Body Slam doesn't do an awful lot more damage than that Power Whip, and we're still able to make it to a Body Slam of our own, and Body Slam will be taking out the Lickitung, and I'm able to take that game. Alright, so heading into the next battle, and I've included this little bit just to show that I did pick the big theme team, but unfortunately we're given a completely different team here. Don't really know why, and also it's not great because a Shadow Dragonite is going to absolutely destroy this team here. Even Kartana resisting the Dragon Breath damage only makes it to 1 charge move before they fully resisted Dragon Breath farming down. Now we come in with the Shadow Haunter, but they will make it to back-to-back charge moves before we can fully Shadow Claw farm them down there. So certainly not ideal for us with the first game with the triple lightweight theme team, but the opponent comes in with a Shadow Quagsire. My only win condition is full sending the Shadow Ball, but unfortunately it does get shielded, and at this point this is certainly game over. Aquatail will be taking us out. We come in with the Ghastly. The Licks are chunking, but they're easily going to make it to a second Aquatail, so we just concede the match there. But GG's to that opponent into the next battle, a much better lead for us as we see Whiscash here, and the opponent isn't swapping out, so this implies they've got something in the back that is also very weak to the Kartana, of course paired with Skarmory though, so we're going to go and chip with a Night Slash, and then come in with my Ghastly, need to preserve the health on my Kartana there, as there's clearly something in the back that doesn't want to see it. We can't really afford to shield our Ghastly. Ghastly definitely the worst Pokemon on this team, so we're just going to fully sacrifice it, then come in with my Haunter. I should be able to fast move farm them down at this point, so the opponent swaps into their Alolan Raichu, but that's perfect for me. We're going for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is going to be shielded by the opponent, but at this point they will have to throw a Charge Move to get rid of us. They're going to go for the Thunder Punch, fine with me. We can razorly farm them down, and despite being double resisted up against the Skarmory, we're able to razorly farm down the Skarmory, and I'm able to take that game. So Kartana is a Skarmory counter confirmed. Into next battle, another great lead for us, but the opponent safe swaps into Skeledirge, and there you can see just how glassy this team is. We're actually going to get fully Incinerate farmed down by a Skeledirge despite dealing super effective Shadow Claw damage with the Shadow Haunter. That is super painful because we really needed switch advantage. We're now going to come in with the Ghastly. I have to shield this. They actually do end up baiting with Disarming Voice, so I guess technically I didn't have to shield that, as they don't even get off one more Incinerate. We do just barely make it to Ominous Wind, but unfortunately this is a very weak move. It doesn't quite take out the Shadow for Alligator there, and of course the fact that they let that go through implies they've got something that can wall the Kartana, and there it is. It's a Ferrothorn. Not ideal for me in the slightest, but they only farm to 4 here. They're actually going to go for an Acid Spray, which means I do possibly have a win condition here, but that involves the opponent baiting once again with the Acid Spray, so it basically just depends. If the opponent full sends a Power Whip here, despite being double resisted, we are double debuffed, and one more Bullet Seed will be taking us out, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there, another great lead leading into Shadow for Alligator. This time they safe swap into Serperior, which isn't as bad, but I'm just going to no-shield the first charge move here as the opponent goes for a Leaf Tornado. That's perfect for me as that is double resisted. Since they've revealed Leaf Tornado, I'm actually going to no-shield the next move as they go for it again, and they are 2 for 2. Or 0 for 2, sorry, with debuff so far, which is very fortunate for me. We can now go for an Ice Punch, throwing on the CMP tie, and we do grab a shield from the opponent. So at this point, I will be shielding. The opponent actually reveals that they were running Aerial Ace anyway, so don't have a clue why they didn't throw that. But either way, we can now go for a Shadow Ball into the Shadow for Alligator, and Shadow Ball will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. We're going to go for a Leaf Blade, but the opponent makes a nice catch here, catching it onto a Lantern, which actually isn't that nice for them, as we can just fully razorly farm them down. And at this point I'm thinking, I kind of want my Shadow Ghastly to do something, so I'm going to no shield here, and despite taking super effective damage from the Shadow Claws, we can get that leg farm down, although they do get me into the yellow health range already, but I am able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we see Mantine in the lead, so we are going to of course stay in this matchup. We will narrowly lose the one shield scenario, but it is probably the best scenario for us, as we can now overfarm here. I'm going to throw on the CMB type with the next charge move. We go for Night Slash just because this would also KO, and if they do no shield it, then we do have that chance to boost our attack. But unfortunately, no boost. They do end up shielding anyways, but what we've done is put them into farm down range for my Shadow Haunter. So we come in with the Haunter, they come in with a Shadow Whiscash, so once again, gonna be full sending the Shadow Ball here, and Shadow Ball is gonna be no shielded by the Whiscash, but unfortunately they've got a fast move damage Pokemon in the back in the form of Shadow Dragonair, and despite the licks also chunking, they can just fully fast move farm down the rest of my team, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Instant next game, we're going to safe swap at the exact same time as the opponent, because Kartana, whilst yes, Razor Leaf is going to chunk that Poliwrath, also can't tank the damage from the counters. We swap into our Shadow Horn, so of course Ice Punch would be one-shotting a Gligar, so they do respect it, but at this point I fear if the opponent chooses not to throw a charge move, they can go for a full wing attack farm down, which is worst case scenario, and that's exactly what they're going for as well. So smart play by the opponent, not great for me. I'm going to come back in with my Kartana here, because I know at least my Ghastly can triple resist the counter damage from that Poliwrath. We no shield, they go for the Aerial Ace, and then they swap into Annihilate, so this is my potential win condition. Of course they will make it to one charge move, so I'm going to be shielding this up. I don't quite know how much energy they've got on the Gligar there, but we only just got to an Ominous Wind, so I can't really throw straight away here, and unfortunately the opponent did have back-to-back charge moves loaded, so they go for the Aerial Ace number 2, taking out my Ghastly, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But the unfortunate thing as well is that I couldn't throw my Ominous Wind, because the opponent would then then outpace me to a charge move on their Poliwrath up against my Ghastly. So yeah, kind of just need to go for that Lick farm down, but we don't quite get it. But anyways, into the next battle, we're going to see a Clodsire. They didn't even farm to the Earthquake, so we do no shield. It's a Stone Edge, and despite being resisted and from one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the entire game, it still does almost all of our health there. But what we can do now is go for a Night Slash there to chip and then put them into Shadow Claw farm down range. We've got a ton of energy. They come back in with the Clodsire. We continue to overfarm before going for the Ice Punch, and Ice Punch is going to be no shielded by the opponent, and they've got Quagsire in the back, so the safe play here is just to go for back-to-back Ice Punches. First one will be grabbing the first shield from the opponent. We're going to go for a second Ice Punch here, and Ice Punch is going to be no shielded by the Quagsire. At this point, we can just Razor Leaf farm them down, but instead we come in with the Ghastly, basically just forcing them to throw, but they throw so late, so I'm actually going to shield this up, and one more lick will be taken out of the Quagsire, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Whimsicott in the lead. So actually, all three Pokemon do have decent matchups here, but I probably should be swapping into my Haunter in all honesty, as of course they are going to be resisting the Razor Leaf damage. We're going to go for a Leaf Blade here, and whilst yes, we do of course resist all of the Whimsicott's moves on all of our Pokemon, it's still not that great because I'm going to shield. It is Grass Knot. They come in with a Shadow Whiscash, so once again, we are full sending the Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball coming through is once again going to one-shot the Whiscash, but that might be worse for me as they come in with Galarian Stunfisk. We're only making it to one charge move, so might as well full send the Shadow Ball. The opponent will be respecting the damage this time around, but they get a huge energy advantage, and this is looking quite scary for us. So what we're going to do, come in with the Ghastly. I'm going to swap, and hopefully we just caught a resisted Rock Slide here. The opponent is going to bait with the Rock Slide, which we do of course live because it is resisted damage. They're going to throw a second charge move straight away, so all we have to do here is make it to an Ominous Wind before the opponent can swap back into their Whimsicott, but unfortunately we're not quite there yet. They go for the Rock Slide, grab that final shield, and they do make it to a charge move on the Whimsicott. Despite being resisted, Grass Knot will be taking out the Shadow Ghastly, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there, back to the great leads for the Kartana, as we see a Whiscash. The opponent then going to safe swap into Lantern. Honestly, if you are core broken in the lead, don't swap into your other Pokemon that also gets destroyed by that Pokemon. Instead, just sacrifice the lead. But here, actually, I'm realizing now we're only going to make it to one charge move here, as Skarmory can shield that and then go for the full Steel Wing farm down, which is super painful. So what we're going to do here is wait out the switch clock in full, then come in with the Shadow Ghastly, and at least this time Skarmory is going to be running the Steel Wing, which is resisted by the Kartana. I am going to respect the damage there, shield that first charge move. The opponent swaps back into Whiscash, and we do have an Ominous Wind to send straight away. So Ominous Wind is actually no shielded by the Whiscash, and that's huge for me because now we can come in with the Kartana, and once again I can just shield up the Sky Attack, go for the Razor Leaf farm down, and Kartana has proved already once again that we are a Skarmory counter confirmed. But anyways, heading into the third and final theme team, unfortunately this was the first battle I did with this team, met with the pretty much the worst possible Pokemon we could see. We're going to swap into Flabébé. I'm actually going to shield this up, and then hopefully we can land a Psychic, but it's pretty unlikely here. Going to full send it anyways, and Psychic coming through is actually no shielded, but it doesn't do much damage. You can see Flabébé doesn't even make it into the 1200 CP range, and so does Joltik. So unfortunately not the highest stat product team you've ever seen. We're going to come in with the Joltik. I have to no shield, and they full send an Earth Power. Now unfortunately both my charge moves are double resisted here. We're only making it to a Cross Poison. That doesn't even take them out from that range, but we can get the Vine Whip farm down on our Comfey, and it's a 1v2. They've got a 2-to-1 shield advantage as well, but they come in with Umbreon. Now unfortunately Draining Kiss is an awful charge move. We're going to go for it there, and you can see it doesn't even do half their health. That isn't ideal. We're going to no-shield the first move as well, then go for a Psychic here, and we are once again going to fire off a Draining Kiss, making sure to throw on good timing, and Draining Kiss doesn't quite take them out there. They make it to another charge move, so I'm hoping this is just a foul play, but it is a second Psychic. They then swap into Swampert though. We're going to go for the Grass Knot anyways. They've still got both their shields, but we might as well send it. And the opponent's actually going to no-shield that, but they're still able to Snarl farm me down, and credit to the opponent there, of course, they did completely destroy me with that Nidoqueen, but they committed to the 2-shield flex, and it just barely paid off. I'm sure they were sweating so much in that battle, but GG's there. Into next battle, some father and son action, and we're actually going to get the boost here up against the Galvantula. So I'm actually going to shield this up. Of course, they're going to debuff my attack once again, but we are still 1 stage buffed, so this cross poison would KO, so we throw it straight away, and then we swap into Flabebe, catching the charge move. Obviously, they're going to send a lunge, which is resisted, and then they're going to swap into Swampert. So of course, these Vine Whips are super effective, but we have been debuffed in our attack. I go for the Psychic here just because the opponent, of course, can outpace us to the charge move before we make it to the Dazzling Gleam, but that allows them to overfarm in this matchup. Hydro Cannon will be taking us out. I'm hoping the opponent only makes it to a Hydro Cannon up against my Comfey here, but the opponent actually commits to the Earthquake or the Sludge Wave, and they don't get there. And that's huge because they've got Defense Form Deoxys in the back. We are, of course, resisting the counter damage. Psycho Boost, Rock Slide, Thunderbolts, they're all going to be neutral, but we can tank one, so I'm going to let the first one go through as the opponent baits with a Rock Slide. We are now going to overarm just slightly, go for the Grass Knot here, and Grass Knot is going to deal some decent damage. They actually no shield, and at this point I can just safely let this move go through here. They definitely don't have back-to-back charge moves just yet, so we come in with the Joltik, they come back in with the Galvantula. We are resisting the Volt Switch damage, and if they debuff me, I'm actually going to get even more energy as we get the full farm down. We are just 1 away from the back-to-back Cross Poisons. They don't have back-to-back charge moves here, so we go for the first one. Cross Poison grabs the final shield, and a second Cross Poison will certainly be enough damage to take out Defense Form Deoxys, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next battle, we see Joltik into a Dugong. So typing wise, this is a good matchup, but of course we severely lack stats, so I'm going to go straight for that Discharge. We do just barely outpace them to that first move, and Discharge does about 50% of their health. Unfortunately, they will debuff me with an Icy Wind, but I'm actually going to shield this up. I will be able to make it to a second Discharge, and I don't mind losing the 1 shield scenario as long as I do grab a shield back from the opponent, and I do get that shield. Although the opponent is going to overfarm here, perfect overfarm as they throw just before we make it to a Cross Poison. The opponent goes for the Icy Wind, taking out the Joltik, but we can put them into range where we can actually just come in and Vine Whip farm them down. I'm going to no shield here. Flabebe has some decent bulk considering it doesn't even reach 1200 CP. We do get that Vine Whip farm down, and then they come in with a Wigglytuff, so not ideal for me. Going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, and then I will swap into my Comfey here, and the opponent's going to choose to stay in with the Wigglytuff, so I will outpace them to the first charge move, but they still got a shield remaining, so of course, gonna respect the damage, gonna be shielding up the Grass Knot there, and the opponent will just barely make it to an Icy Wind before we do make it to Grass Knot number 2. The opponent goes for the Icy Wind, but then they come in with a Guzzlord, and that's actually not too bad, but unfortunately Draining Kiss is the worst fairy type charge move in the entire game, and because we were debuffed, it doesn't quite one-shot them, which means unfortunately we have to throw a second Draining Kiss to get the KO, but now they can come in, charm, farm down both Pokemon, and unfortunately we do lose that game, although it was very close there. But GG's to the opponent, and into the final battle of this video, we lead into a Trevenant. So actually don't mind this matchup here. Of course, Sucker Punch is super effective, it doesn't deal that much damage anyways, and of course Joltik doesn't really have the stats to threaten a shield here, but Cross Poison does get them into the yellow health range. We will outpace them here, so they go for a Shadow Ball, and then the opponent swaps into a Pelipper, which is a very odd decision. I'm definitely going to shield this up. Of course, we have a Discharge loaded. I can't imagine the opponent is going to no shield, but I don't care. We're full sending the Discharge, and the opponent actually lets that go through for whatever reason. They underestimate the Joltik, and it does backfire for them as we take them out there. And the third and final Pokemon is going to be an Obstagoon. So of course they've got a 2-shield advantage, but I've got 2 Fairy types in the back, which is huge for me. We're going straight for the Dazzling Gleam. I feel like Psychic is a very risky bait there, despite them having both shields and obviously going to be shielding, especially since they just saw that Discharge land. But either way, we're going to go for another Draining Kiss here. Draining Kiss should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. They still can't go for a full counter farm down, and it's pretty obvious that they don't have Hyper Beam or Gunk Shot, otherwise they probably would have thrown one already. They go for another Night Slash. I just have to hope that they don't get a boost at any point in this battle. The opponent is going to go for another Night Slash here, and they have always made sure to overfarm here. So Night Slash coming through. They swap back into Trevenant, but I will make it to the Psychic. I do just barely overfarm in this matchup. Couldn't remember how much energy they had when they swapped out, but Psychic will be taking them out here, and now I can go for a Savage Catch onto my Joltik, catching the Night Slash here. Night Slash is not going to get the boost once again, which means I will live the next Night Slash coming through. I think I did just get the energy for a Dazzling Gleam on my Flabebe, so we're going to send it here. This is going to be huge overkill, but it takes out the Obstagoon, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.